and welcome to my channel. This is Leslie, and today we are going to be using the Springtime Blessings bundle from Not Too Shabby. That's this one. If you want to see all the papers that are involved, I can link that video down below. But I am going to be using the stencils specifically, and then these two pattern papers and some ephemera, and we're going to be making some bookmarks today. So I am starting out by using this lovely cross stencil here. I'm just bringing in some lunar paste, and it is in the color of Slippery and When Wet. It's kind of this goldish color, and I just love the shine that these pastes bring out. So we're just going to go ahead and scrape that down, and that's the great thing about the stencil is that you can use mixed media with it, or you could just ink blend on it, or do kind of sprays with it. Just get real creative, whatever works for you. I'm only going to use a small portion of this image once it's dry, and I'm going to use the rest of it in cards later on, but that's the great thing about having a 6x6 stencil like this. You can use as much or as little as you need, and here's the reveal. That comes out so pretty, y'all. I love this stencil. All right, so these are the papers that we're using, and then I brought in some ephemera, cut out pieces from the actual paper here, and we're going to create some bookmarks. So I'm going to start with this pink paper. This is 6x6, and I'm going to cut it into thirds. So we're going to cut 2 inches by 6 inches. So we'll only have to make a couple cuts here. I'm going to start by cutting at 4, and that will create 1 bookmark, and then I'm going to cut at 2, and that will create the other 2 bookmarks. And then I do end up cutting some white cardstock in the same dimension. So we're going to go 2 by 6. So we're going to start by cutting it down to 6 so that I don't have to worry about it. And then we're going to cut our 2 inches. Now I am going to glue those 2 pieces of paper together, and that's going to create my base of the bookmark. I want it pretty hefty duty, and since I'm not going to be laminating these, I do want them kind of thick and sturdy. So that's why we're adding the cardstock to it. This is the 120-pound white cardstock, but use whatever you have in your stash. So now that we have our 3 white cardstock papers and our 3 pattern papers, we're going to get those put together here. So I'm just going to line it up as best as I can. I might have to trim off a little bit here and there just to make it work, but we're just going to use some tape runner, tape adhesive here, and get that adhered as well as we can. So if you haven't checked out Not Too Shabby's quarterly release, there is 2 of them going on right now. It's the Springtime Blessings and Bunnies in Bloom, and they are selling fast. So definitely check it out. If you are interested, do not hesitate. Once it's gone, it is gone, because that is how the quarterly release works. So we have our bases here, and now I'm going to cut out some other papers using some dies that I found in my stash. One of them is going to cut this beautiful cross stencil out, and the other one is going to cut out some paper. So we have our little flag here. I did cut or punch a hole into my bookmark, so I am going to have to punch a hole through that pendant as well. That is going to be where we can put our twine and ribbon and all things. And then this kind of gives me an idea of how I want to set up these bookmarks. So the first one here, I did go ahead and cut off the mug, because I just want the flowers part of it to be kind of blooming at the bottom. The come near to God and he will come near to you. That was actually cut out of one of the papers that are part of the pad, because there is some sentiments on the actual paper pad as well. So we're just going to use some liquid glue here, get that little bouquet at the bottom. I just find these flowers so pretty, and these colors are just perfect for spring and just perfect for encouragement. And I love to read, and I am always looking for bookmarks because I lose mine so easily. You would think I'm always reading, and so I should always have a bookmark, but a lot of times I grab like a receipt or a scrap of paper or anything that is next to me while I'm reading the physical book, and I really need to up my bookmark stash. So one of these bookmarks will actually come with me, and then I plan on gifting the other two to some other readers that I know. I am using liquid glue to also get these butterflies down. We're going to keep this as flat as possible, except for the twine here and ribbons. That's because, when you put it in a book, you don't want to end up folding or pressing weird shapes into your book pages. So we want this to stay as flat as possible. And then we're going to go ahead and cut some twine. I have a bunch of ribbon here. I'm just kind of figuring out how long I want it to be. It's not an exact measurement. Maybe like 3 inches ish, 3 to 4 inches off of the bookmark there. So double that, because we are going to fold all this in half and push it through the hole there. I'm just going to grab 3 here, and this is just from my stash. I made a skirt for my third daughter's cake smash, and it had a bunch of tulle on it, and then I also put a bunch of ribbon and different texture ribbons on it, and this was just part of that bundle. So this is what I had left over. So I'm recycling it here by using it for my bookmark. So we're just going to create a loop, push it through the hole, and then tuck all those little strings through. So you gotta see me struggle here a little bit. The feathery one is a bit of an issue, but it's fine. It worked out, and it's just so much fun, and it just makes me so happy. I love how this came out. So let's go ahead and work on number 2. So number 2, I did go ahead and use just a die in my stash to cut that paper so it has that fun stitching on it. And then I'm actually going to emboss a sentiment from the stamp set right onto the bookmark. So I'm just making sure I'm lining that up so that I'll still be able to see it once my little pendant is on there. And then we're going to use some anti-static powder here to make sure that nothing sticks that isn't supposed to. And then I'm just going to use my Versamark ink and get that stamp sentiment all inked up. So this is a sentiment, because he lives, I can face tomorrow, and it has a little flower in as part of it as well, and I just thought that went so well with the papers and the bookmark that we're going for, and just the encouraging word that we're going for. I did have to press that a couple times to make sure that it got a good solid impression, and then I'm just going to bring in some embossing powder in gold, make sure that it completely covers that sentiment, kind of maneuver it around a little bit to make sure that it fills in everything, and that is just perfect. I'm just making sure that we have no loose little pieces there, and then I'm going to just slide the rest of that embossing powder back into the jar. We'll get it tightened here, and then we will move on to heating up my heating tool and melting the embossing powder. So I did off camera heat up my tool for a couple minutes, so just so that when I start putting it onto the paper doesn't curl as much. Thankfully, being a bookmark, this will be flattened pretty well once it's actually in use, but since I am using a thicker paper, that double layer, I didn't want to go from the behind. So I just went on the front, and it just comes out so pretty. It's just a beautiful shine and beautiful texture, and just a little bit extra fun, especially since we're not using a lot of dimension. We want to use a little bit of sparkle. We don't want to use any enamel dots on this or anything. So this is how we're getting a little sparkle on this. So we're going to go ahead and add some liquid glue to my die cut here, and then we're going to line it up with the edge and really make sure that it's in the middle and perfectly adhered down. That would be my second bookmark here. We'll get some more of the ribbons and get that finished. In a minute, I'm going to let that adhere fully, and I'm going to work on my third bookmark. So I did decide to cut this down. It's cut down to 1.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and I'm just using one of my corner tools to round those corners corners just to give it a little bit extra fun. I could round the corners of the bookmark itself as well, but with this one I decided not to, but if you want to do that with yours, you do you. I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid glue here. I really want to make sure this sticks down because it has the extra lunar paste on it. It is a little bit thicker and a little bit warping, so we want to really make sure that it adheres all the way. So I am going to put an acrylic block on that a little bit later after I get my ephemera on here. This is just one of the ephemeras that is in the bundle, and it says grow in faith, and I just love the flowers, y'all, and the colors, and so I wanted to make sure that I incorporated that in this. And then I did grab a little bit of scrap cardstock here, just so that there isn't a noticeable bend in the mug. I'm just making sure that it lines up well and then adding a little bit more glue. I am using liquid glue for this because of the lunar paste and how it's uneven. We really want to make sure that it sticks well. Now, the parts that are going off my bookmark, you can leave that if you want. I'm going to go ahead and get it cut off just so that it doesn't get bent weird in a book later on. I want things flush with the edge, and I just love how that turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and put my acrylic block on that, and we'll get to adding my ribbons and feathers and all the things onto these other bookmarks. So you can use anything in your stash if you have twine instead of ribbon, or if you just want to keep it plain and not add any of this, you sure can. I would just suggest maybe not putting a hole in the bookmark. And then I'm just going to make sure that I have about the same amount as last time, about 6 inches or so. We're going to fold that in half, and then we're going to push the rounded end through that hole again. And like I said, this is using Not Too Shabby's quarterly release Springtime Blessings. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely check out that information down below. And if you are interested in purchasing in it, please do not hesitate because it is going fast. And that is my second bookmark right there. With that one, I decided to have a ribbon that matched some of those books and some of the grayer blue colors. With this one, I decided to bring in a ribbon that had a little bit of gold woven in to match with my crosses there. So these are my 3 bookmarks. I love how they came out. This one, Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow. It's just such a beautiful, encouraging sentiment. Come near to God and He will come near to you. I'm actually going to put that in my Bible, and Grow in Faith with the beautiful cross stencils. So definitely check out the bundle down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. That really helps my channel. Please comment which bookmark is your favorite. And then, of course, if you're new here, hit subscribe, and I will see you in another video soon. You have a great day. Bye.